Welcome to another episode of Equal Family, and this is how today's story begins.
Sweetie, we can't afford to take both girls. Jessica really needs this trip. That's what my mom said. Over Sunday dinner, like it was nothing. When they came home from Europe, they found the house changed. Not vandalized, vacated. Every piece I'd ever funded was gone. I'm Amanda. For 28 years, I was their ATM and their emotional punching bag. I paid mortgages, cars, and guilt trips. They paid me with silence and labels. Selfish, show-off, ungrateful. At that dinner, I asked quietly, "What about me?" Dad didn't look up. "Honey, you can take your own vacation anytime." So I did. Just not the kind they expected. Receipts became proof. Freedom wore ink. They chose a vacation for one. I chose to leave for good. Leaving wasn't a snap decision. It started long before the flight. In the way they treated me every single day. Jessica has always been the golden one. Pretty, impulsive, loud enough for the room to notice. I was the quiet one. The reliable backup plan. When her car broke down, I bought the replacement. When Dad's hours got cut, I paid the mortgage. When Mom wanted new furniture, I covered the difference just this once. That once lasted 10 years. I sent $800 a month since I was 20. They called it helping family. I called it survival. Because love always came with a bill attached. When I finally bought myself a new car, Mom frowned. "Do you really need something that fancy?" When I moved into my own apartment, Dad sighed. "You're abandoning the family, Amanda. Abandoning them." While I was the only one paying the bills. Jessica dropped out of college to pursue her passion for content. She posted brunches, bought ring lights, and somehow her overdraft became my emergency. I kept telling myself they'd see the difference someday, between helping and being used. But the more I gave, the less I existed outside their needs. Last year on my birthday, they let me pick the restaurant, then handed me the bill. "Your treat, right?" Dad joked. I laughed because crying wasn't allowed. Later that night, Mom called. "Sweetheart, Jessica's behind on rent again. You can cover it, can't you?" Her voice was soft, like guilt disguised as love. And I said yes. Again. In college, I skipped spring break to work overtime. Sent the bonus to cover Mom's card bill. Jessica posted pool photos with my caption, "Family first." She meant my wallet. Driving home, the city lights blurred. I thought about every favor I'd called love, every time I paid to belong, and realized belonging had always been for sale. In that moment, I realized I'd been funding a family that never included me. After that dinner, something inside me went quiet. Not broken, just done. The kind of silence that comes when the truth is too loud to ignore. For the first time in years, I opened my bank statements and traced every transaction like a detective revisiting a cold case. 10 years of helping. 10 years of watching my savings shrink, while their lifestyle bloomed on my dime. The numbers didn't lie. 96,000 in mortgage payments, 47,000 in household purchases, a refrigerator, washer, dryer, furniture, Jessica's car. All of it sitting in that house. My money, their comfort. I thought about every thank you that never came. Every time they'd say, "You're so lucky you have a good job." As if my hard work was a privilege, not the reason they could afford to live without worry. That weekend, I printed every receipt, every text where they'd promised to pay me back. I made folders, color-coded, labeled, dated. If they ever questioned what I'd given, I wanted proof that my generosity wasn't a fairy tale. Then I met with a lawyer. She flipped through my documents, brows raised. "Most people don't keep records like this," she said. "I guess I learned to document everything when love came with terms." She smiled, sadly. "Then you already know your worth." She explained that legally, ownership stays with whoever paid, unless transferred in writing. Every big-ticket item I'd bought was still mine. That sentence settled in my chest like oxygen after drowning. I walked out of her office lighter. Not happy yet, but clear. For years I thought leaving meant betrayal. Now I understood. Staying had been the real betrayal of myself. I started searching for apartments in Denver. A city I'd always loved but never dared to claim. The mountains, the clean air. It felt like a life I hadn't earned yet. But maybe I finally could. At night I'd sit by my window, watching the skyline flicker against the glass. My laptop glowed with listings, each one a small act of rebellion. Between tabs for moving companies and rental quotes, I made a new folder titled My Life. For the first time, I wasn't saving documents for proof. I was saving plans for freedom. At work, I requested remote status. My manager didn't even hesitate. "You've earned the freedom, Amanda. That one sentence felt more loving than anything my parents had said in years. I stopped answering every family text immediately, paused before saying yes to another favor. Each hesitation felt like reclaiming a piece of myself I didn't realize had been rented out. For the first time, I imagined a life where my money and my peace both belonged to me. And as the flight confirmation for their Europe trip hit our family chat, I smiled to myself. The day they boarded that plane, I stopped being their backup plan. They left on a Tuesday morning. 3 suitcases, 1 oversized tote, and a promise to FaceTime from Paris. Mom kissed my cheek like she was doing me a favor. "Keep the houseplants alive, honey," she said. Jessica smirked from the back seat. "Don't miss us too much." Their laughter faded down the street. I stood on the driveway and exhaled. The air felt different, still sharp mine. By 9 a.m., I made my first call. "Hi, this is Amanda Mitchell. I'd like to schedule a pickup for tomorrow." The moving company specialized in delicate transitions, families splitting assets, quiet separations, stories that didn't need retelling. Patricia, the coordinator, didn't ask for details. She just said, "We'll handle it carefully." That night, I walked through the house one last time. Every corner whispered with memories I no longer wanted. The fridge I bought humming in the kitchen, the washer spinning softly in the garage, the couch where I'd once cried behind Jessica's laughter. Everything here bore my fingerprints, except love. I took photos for documentation, each click a small goodbye. It wasn't vengeance, it was accounting. Wednesday morning, the trucks arrived. 2 men in uniforms, polite, efficient. I handed them my folder, receipts, inventory, serial numbers. They didn't need explanations. They'd seen this story before. The refrigerator went first, then the furniture, the washer, the new TV, Jessica's vanity desk. Piece by piece, the illusion of family comfort disappeared. By late afternoon, the house looked hollow, like a stage set after the curtain fell. I left the old couch in the living room, the faded floral one Mom used to hate. It felt poetic, leaving them with their past. Before locking the door, I placed an envelope on the counter. Inside, receipts, copies of statements, and a letter. Mom, Dad, Jessica. Everything I've taken was paid for by me. For a decade, I funded your lives while you called me selfish. I'm done being useful only when it's convenient. Consider this repayment for every favor that became obligation. The house you return to is the one you built, without me. I slid the key through the mail slot. The sound was final, like a door closing on an old version of myself. Driving away, the rearview mirror showed nothing but sky. No guilt, no fear, just quiet. That night, I slept deeper than I had in years. My phone lit up with missed calls, but I didn't answer. They were still somewhere over the Atlantic, blissfully unaware that their return ticket was to a stripped home. By the time their plane landed, I'd already crossed the state line and crossed out the role they'd written for me. The sunrise that morning hit different. No weight on my chest, no names in my inbox demanding more. For the first time, the silence felt like peace. Not absence, but beginning. And that beginning was mine. They landed on a Sunday night. My phone started buzzing before I'd even finished unpacking boxes. First Mom, then Dad, then Jessica. And one text that said it all. "What have you done?" I didn't reply. Instead, I poured myself coffee, sat by the window. Peace was louder than their panic. By noon, my inbox filled with fury. Mom's message came first. Long paragraphs about betrayal, family, and disrespect. She called me cruel. Dad's was colder. "This is theft, Amanda. You can't just take what you gave." "And Jessica?" Her voice note was a minute of sobbing. "How could you ruin my life like this?" I almost laughed. Ruin her life? I'd simply stopped financing it. That evening, my lawyer called. "They filed a police report," he said calmly. "Claimed you stole their property." I sighed. "Let me guess. No receipts? No proof?" He chuckled. "None. I already sent documentation. The officer said you have the weaker case." For once, justice wasn't loud. It was quiet, patient, methodical, like me. The next morning, I woke to an email from Dad. Final line, "You'll regret this when you're alone." I wrote back one sentence. I've never been less alone in my life. Days passed. The messages kept coming. Threats, guilt trips, rewritten histories. They said I'd had a breakdown, that I was unstable, that I'd lost touch with family values. But each accusation felt weaker than the last, because truth has a calmness lies can't imitate. 2 days later, Jessica called from an unknown number. I answered. Her voice was small. "Amanda, please. We came home to nothing." "I left what was yours," I said, "and took what was mine." "I can't work without my setup," she whispered. Then build it yourself, I said. Like I built mine. She tried one more angle. Mom's been crying for days. Be reasonable. Reasonable was 10 years, I said. This is fairness. Silence stretched. Then a sniff. Do you hate me? I don't, I said. I just stopped funding you. I notified building security. Family not allowed past the lobby. Boundaries aren't cruelty. They're instructions on how to love me. Then a certified letter arrived. A lawsuit threat. My lawyer handled it in 3 sentences. Every item was purchased and documented by my client. Further contact will be considered harassment. Silence followed. Real silence this time. Not absence, detachment. For years, they'd controlled me with obligation. Made me believe love was something you earned by paying. But now, every call I ignored, every dollar I kept, was a line drawn in permanent ink. I wasn't their provider anymore. I wasn't their emotional vault or financial cushion. I was Amanda, whole, solvent, unapologetic, and for the first time, they were the ones left empty-handed. It's been months since the last message. The silence feels different now, earned, not forced. At first, I kept checking my phone, half expecting another guilt trip disguised as love. But the quiet stayed. And in that quiet, I started to hear myself again. Mornings don't start with panic anymore. They start with sunlight through mountain air, coffee brewed for one, and a kind of peace that used to feel expensive. I've learned that freedom doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it just looks like paying your own bills and knowing nobody else has a claim on your joy. I still think about my family sometimes. Not with anger, just distance. I hope they're okay. But I've stopped mistaking their comfort for my responsibility. I used to think leaving meant losing everything. Now I know it meant finding what was left of me. I'm learning how to buy things for myself without the echo of guilt. How to say no without explaining. How to rest without permission. Denver feels like rebirth. I hike on weekends, work with people who respect my boundaries, and love a man who doesn't flinch when I say I need space. My life isn't perfect, but it's finally mine, paid for in full, in cash and clarity. If you've ever been called selfish for choosing yourself, hear me clearly. You are not selfish. You are surviving. You are allowed to stop pouring into people who only ever take. Have you ever faced something like this? Tell me in the comments. And if you've been through this, you're not alone. Because peace isn't passive. It's the loudest kind of strength. And sometimes, the quietest revenge is finally living well.